So how many of you have said it within the course of the day, I'm tired of adulting? Hi, tired of adulting. I've said it a time or two or three or four or 300. Yeah, some of us said it this morning. You know, it's interesting. When we really tune into who and what we are, it's amazing what can happen. And yet we have these moments like Eric Butterworth so plainly told us, that if we can stop fretting and worrying, that we can get to a place where our experience is so different and we forget what it is we were fretting about in the first place. So I woke up Wednesday feeling like a cold was coming, and it doesn't matter why or how, what was going on in life, that it came and took hold. It took hold. So after a while, I don't worry about why anymore because, I still got what I got. And sometimes the why helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the why or figuring out the why just makes me stay in the feeling I'm trying not to have. So I let the why go, and I just deal with what I have to deal with. And so at some point on Wednesday, I remembered, oh, you're singing this Sunday. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't just losing it. So I texted or emailed Stephen. I said, oh, I'm on the schedule to sing this Sunday, aren't you? He's like, yes, you are. Okay. So you know how colds go, or the flu or anything. It takes its time. It does what it wants, how it wants, and we get to be patient. Or not. And it's interesting, with a low-grade cold, I was feeling good from nose down. Everything was good, doing my usual things, going through life, and just doing what I do to take care of what's going through my body and let my body do what it wants. And as luck has it, you know how it is. You feel good during the day, then you lay down and go to sleep, and that's when stuff starts to happen. And you don't feel good, you're not sleeping, you're not breathing. I could go all day long, not congested at all, lay down, and I can't breathe at all. And so I'm tossing and turning, and it doesn't help the body to heal when you can't sleep. And I was up probably every 2 hours, going through what I have to go through, hopefully to help my body do what it wants. So yeah, I was real tired of adulting through the week. Part of me wanted to figure out, how can I not sing this Sunday? How can I not do that? How can I not do anything that I have to do Sunday morning? And honestly, doing a talk and singing, Deborah knows, other people, Laura knows, other people who do talks like this who come, because this is not just a speech, it's a God energy thing. And so it's so much more than just saying, if I was just going and talking to a group somewhere else, it might feel a little different. And so I know that there's something that happens to me on Sunday morning, and I trust that. And I also know things can happen during the time when I'm here that don't happen when I'm home. And I'm still trying to figure out what that is, because I can go through this hour and a half and not cough, not have to blow my nose, and I go home, and the opposite happens. Something happens in this God space that I tune into very powerfully in this hour and a half when we're together. So it's no mistake that the power we're talking about today is zeal, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm comes from a Greek word meaning possession of a God, having a God within. So, as I'm prepping yesterday, and especially this morning, because I woke up sounding worse than Kermit the Frog, croaking like a real frog, like the biggest bullfrog ever. And I'm thinking, oh, a couple of hours, we got to sing. A couple of hours, we'll be speaking. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? And luckily, I have enough practice that I didn't go into, I don't want to do this, I don't want to adult, because I do love this. So I know my process for flipping the switch. So I immediately put on music that makes me feel good. And I listened to this one song. It's actually a new song that I discovered, this new artist that I had not known about, who's actually been around for a very long time. And the name of the song is Colorblind. And it starts off kind of slow, and then it goes into this really great beat that I love listening to. And every time I hear it, I can't not move. So I put it on my phone, I'm listening to it, I turn on my speaker, my Bluetooth speaker, and I've just got it playing, and I'm laying in bed just listening to it and letting myself feel it. Letting myself feel it. And actually what I was doing was harnessing this power of zeal, trying to find my enthusiasm in body, mind, spirit, and heart to do what I'm called to do here in a couple of hours. So for the first 2 rounds of that song, I was laying in bed. First round, I wasn't moving at all. Second round, I'm moving, but still in bed, listening to it, and trying to take on, envisioning being up here in front of all of you. And knowing, really knowing that I do have this power that is me, waiting for me to call upon it. And I could have done 1,000 different things. So remember, at any particular moment, there are 1 billion times 1 billion to the billionth power times 1 billion options available to us to use, to choose. And so I could have said to Quentin, instead of me singing, we're going to do 2 music videos, and we're just going to do that. I could have called Deborah and said, I can't teach today. Can you do that? So I could have done that, and that would have been fine, and lightning would not have struck my home or me. It all would have been fine. And yet, I know that I want to do this, and I'm always wanting to test unity principles. Always. Because they say they work, you just have to use them. You know, it works if you work it, that thing. And so I'm always on board for saying, all right, I'm going to use it today, and what does that look like? How do I bring this power of zeal fully into everything that I am, everything that I have to do, and do it powerfully, without question, without doubt? So I continued listening to my music. I listened to that same song probably 100 times this morning because I wanted it to play over. I wanted to have that feeling. I wanted to know that enthusiasm in my body because I knew if I could get it there, then the rest of it's just going to turn on. I know that my mind, body, and spirit support my heart. And I can call on all of them to support each other, and I affirm that throughout my day if I find myself lagging. If I'm having a particularly emotional day, I affirm that the other 3 are supporting my heart. So I'm supporting, all 4 had to be galvanized to support each other today. So I listened to the music, and I kept listening to it, and I'm going through this process of affirming that all is well, that everything is always working out for me. So I didn't practice the songs. I thought of them. I was going through them in my head. I was listening to them, but I did nothing to practice the vocal instrument. I didn't do that because I started to affirm that in the moment this was going to happen. In the moment, the voice would be there. In the moment, I would be able to sing this. In the moment, everything that I wanted to happen would happen. But that's only possible if you start to harness this zeal, this energy that's within you. And then I know that the practice is really mental practice, spiritual practice. And then the body's going to follow, because the body has no choice but to follow where my consciousness is. I know that. I know that. And so I just kept affirming that as I'm getting ready, as I'm doing the things that I do, as I'm getting dressed, as I'm having breakfast. In fact, I was so centered on what was going on, I forgot that I had to come here and practice. It's not just about me singing the song. I'm here with the gentleman who's accompanying me. So I show up at 10:30, apologizing. So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm so in my process so I could show up that I forgot about practice, and so we practiced. And that's why there's a bit of a delay in when we started. But it's all good, because that's how this had to come into fruition. This is how we have to start harnessing what we know and start living what we say we believe. And if you don't believe it, just test it. I love that Unity says, test it. And what doesn't work for you, don't do. Throw it out. But if you work it, it works. But that means that you have to go in whole hog. You got to find what it is that you want, claim what it is that you want, possibly affirm it over and over and over again, and all of those 12 powers that we not only have but are start to well up within us and start doing their work for us, with us, as us. And so I could feel the zeal happening. My body felt good. I went outside. I sat in the sunshine for a while. I did some breathing out there, which, you know, with all the dust in the air right now, I kept thinking, is this really a good idea? But I was called to be out there, and I figured, well, if I'm breathing in dust, not like I don't breathe in dust any other time, right? There's always something in the air. But I'm also affirming vibrancy and health at the same time. Always. That doesn't matter what's in the air, that my body is still strong and healthy, despite what's going on in the outside world, in the physical world, outside of our withinness. I just made up a word. And then you just show up, trusting in that power of faith, knowing that it is going to happen. In fact, as soon as you claim it, it has happened in pure potentiality. So there's nothing to worry about once you get into the space where it's time for you to do what you've claimed that you're going to do. This is what Charles Fillmore says in The 12 Powers of Man about zeal. So there are all these mental states that we talked about before, the fretting, the worrying, what's going on in the world, what we got going on in our minds. So he says these mental states are all constructed under the dynamic power of the great universal impulse that lies back of all action, enthusiasm, or zeal. Zeal is the mighty force that incites the winds, the tides, the storms. It urges the planet on its course and spurs to action, great exertion. To be without zeal is to be without the zest of living. Zeal and enthusiasm incite to glorious achievement in every aim and ideal that the mind conceives. Zeal is the impulse to go further, the urge behind all things. Without zeal, stagnation, inertia, death would prevail throughout the universe. The man without zeal is like an engine without steam or an electric motor without a current. Energy is zeal in motion, and energy is the forerunner of every effect. Never repress the impulse, the force, the zeal welling up within you. Commune with it in spirit and praise it for its great energy and efficiency in action. At the same time, analyze and direct its course. As zeal alone, it is without intelligence or discretion as to results. As Jesus taught his disciples and combined their various talents, so every man must grow in wisdom and zeal. You are not to repress, but to guide the spirit of enthusiasm, which in cooperation with wisdom will bring you happiness and satisfaction. Zeal is the affirmative impulse of existence. Its command is go forward. Through this impulse, man forms many states of consciousness that he ultimately tires of. They may have served a good purpose in their day in the grand scheme of creation, but as man catches sight of higher things, zeal urges him forward to their attainment. So let your zeal be tempered with wisdom so that you know where to put your energy when you need to put that energy forth. So zeal is represented by the apostle Simon from Cana. And it's also represented by, in the body, the back of the head, the medulla. So the medulla has several jobs. It manages heart, circulation, and breathing. It manages other automatic processes that we don't even have to think about. It manages the nerve connection. So everything that is important to life is managed by the medulla. Zeal enables us to go forward. That's the impulse for life itself. Without it, there is no life. A lot of people think zeal is this perky, kind of bubbly, positive energy that, we all like, okay, get over it. Put a fork in it. The thing that makes you roll your eyes. But it's not, it can be that some days, and maybe it is for some people. But it's really just the energy we need to move forward, to do what we are called to do in the moment. It is the thing that helps us adult when we don't want to adult. Sit with that for a moment. It's the thing that helps us adult when we don't want to adult, when we don't want to be the adult in the room. How many times do we go someplace we have to be the adult in the room? Whether it's at work, with our families, with friends, who knows? At a, in a meeting, whatever it is. There are many times where I go and I think, well, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. No, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the leader in the room. I don't want to do that. And yet, I'm called to be that. And it's zeal and enthusiasm that helps me step forward into that, no matter what it looks like. And it may not be that I say or do anything. It may be that I'm just sitting there in my strength and my power, and people feel that. Zeal doesn't require us to speak or to do anything. It requires us to be something, to move forward with something, even if the moving forward is a state of consciousness. Or it's going to fuel something else, and it rides behind, it undergirds whatever it is that you're called to do. So it kind of takes backstage for you. It's that backstage support under everything else. Under everything else. And you can call upon it as you will. As you will. You can call upon it. All of the 12 powers help us do that. And I love how they work together. We can overdo it if we're zealous about everything. And it's wisdom that helps us know, what do you put your energy to now? Remember, the power of order helps us figure out, what are my priorities now? And so you can go in and affirm this power of order Mix it with wisdom. What are you discerning is important now? And then using zeal to help you move forward, to give you the energy to move. To give you the energy to move, to do, to be. To know, like the Greek root of this word, the God within you. The God as you, if you are there in consciousness. Doesn't matter if you use within or as long as you use it. As long as you use it. With your understanding of God, go forward with that. Go forward with that. We all have so much more than we think we do. So when you find yourself worrying and fretting, when you find yourself saying, I don't have enough for this thing that's right here, flip the switch and say, I do. It's here. It's waiting for me. Do I engage it or not? Remember, even if you want to fret and worry, you are still love. You are still a unique expression of the divine, not harnessing your natural power. And that's okay. It doesn't change your essence. What it does change is your experience of life in that moment. So what do you choose? Ask yourself, what do I want here? Do I want a not adult? Do I just want to coast in this moment? And if you say yes, and give yourself permission to be okay with that. But if you're choosing a higher level of expression, not higher as if the other is lower and bad, it's just different. It's a different frequency. It's a different vibration of living. But choose what you want. And know that whatever it is that you want, you have. And that this power of zeal enables you to do it and do it fully and boldly and powerfully. And with true wisdom and discretion. You are so much more than you give yourself credit for. So much more. And so if you can get there and claim that you are, know that you are, then you can go to that power of zeal and say, now I need you to get me to move forward. Help me move forward into that. Help me move forward into that. I'm now moving forward with zeal, with enthusiasm, with the God within me, to whatever I am called to do right here and right now. Let's take this into meditation. So maybe you have something right now. That maybe you don't want to do. Have your eyes on. You're thinking maybe you can. You've got a challenge or a mission before you. Something you kind of are dancing around. Maybe you're fretting and worrying about it. What is it? And let yourself just be with that thing. Let yourself be with it, see it, feel it. And let yourself just be honest about what it feels like when you look at it as something that's bigger than you, that requires more than you think you have. And let it be okay in this moment. But now, as you consider it, give yourself permission to affirm that there is nothing, no circumstance, no situation, no mission, no calling that is bigger than you. That your divinity is all powerful, infinitely powerful, and you have only to unleash your divinity upon this situation. And maybe you have to keep affirming, my divinity is more powerful than anything in the manifest world. My divinity is more powerful than anything in the manifest world. Maybe the word my is what makes you uncomfortable. My divinity, the power that I am. Not just the power that I have, the power that I am is greater than this thing before me. So much so that the thing can become no thing. Nothing. So look at that circumstance, that situation now with different eyes. With the eyes of God, the eyes of your divinity. Give yourself permission to see it differently. See that circumstance perhaps surrounded by a pink bubble, a big pink bubble before you. And let that pink bubble get smaller and smaller and smaller, because the pink bubble is your divinity. Just watch it get Get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's so small that you hear a tiny poof noise and it disperses into the air. It becomes no thing. It becomes nothing in the face of your divinity. You have unleashed your zeal, your enthusiasm, the God within you upon that situation. Energy in action. Energy in action. God, energy in action, has been unleashed upon what you thought was too big for you to handle. Or perhaps you didn't think you had the wherewithal, the energy, the wisdom, the power, whatever it is you thought you needed that you didn't have. You actually do have. Infinitely. And it may be that what you're doing today is not enough. You may need to do this every day. Until whatever it is you thought you didn't have is there and has moved forward. And taken care of the thing and changed it into nothingness. So in this moment, we say yes and thank you for zeal, for the powers within us, the powers that are us, that enable us to live fully, joyfully, peacefully, harmoniously. With unlimited freedom. Give yourself permission to say yes to freedom. The freedom that only your divinity can give you. Give yourself permission to be all that you are. At your essence, at your core, not your personality, at your divine core. Give yourself permission to express your divine essence in every moment, with everybody, in everything. So let's take a deep breath, breathing in gratitude. Exhale gratitude, knowing that you have it infinitely. We're grateful for all good things overflowing into our lives. We're grateful for zeal and enthusiasm. Doesn't have to be manufactured. It is there waiting for us. And so we say yes to it. Thank you for zeal. Thank you for the energy to move forward into all that I am called to be and do. We don't have to adult. We just have to be what we are. Infinitely powerful, spiritual beings. Infinitely powerful, spiritual beings. Seek first the kingdom, and all things are added unto thee. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen.